TJ wasn't drafted, and Mackey called the Mets scout, tell him that you should sign TJ.
His work ethic was unbelievable, phenomenal. You didn't have to tell him to do extra, but he really worked hard, and he made himself a better ball player and a better hitter in the junior college level, and got a scholarship to Troy. They had watched TJ. Tommy was a Met scout at the time, and they'd seen him time and time again, and they just never pulled the trigger. And when he got to Troy, he had some outstanding years there and really matured as a ball player. After the season, they actually called me. They needed a second baseman, third baseman type guy, and asked me, was he the guy? I said, well, you should have took him in the first place. A couple days later, he signed with the Mets, and the rest was history for him.
Did that make you good that Mackey went to bat for you?
I don't know if I have opportunities if somebody doesn't fight for me and kind of speak up for me a little bit. And I was fortunate to have Mackey do that for me because, I don't think I was ever a player that was going to really wow you in a showcase or a practice setting. It was more of the behind-the-scenes type things that were going to help me.
Jay Horwitz, we have two special guests today. Amazing conversation. Mackey Sasser, Major League veteran, 9 years, 5 with the Mets. TJ Rivera, who fought his way back to the majors, had a productive almost a year, and injuries cut it short, but he played some big games for us. And this is really a story of friendship, loyalty, and perseverance. So let me just set the stage for you guys. Mackey was a coach at Wallace Community College in Alabama. TJ played for 2 years. Is that right? 2 years, TJ? TJ transferred to Troy. TJ wasn't drafted, and Mackey called the Mets scout, tell him that you should sign TJ. Mackey, what was it about TJ that made you feel like he had a chance to make it?
Well, when he got to me, he was a very driven young man. He knew what he wanted. He's very intelligent. His skills needed to improve. And, the first year he struggled with me as far as hitting. All the other tools were there. He struggled a little bit because he struggled a little slider away and couldn't lay off of it. And, we talked about it. And the thing about TJ was when you talked, he listened and he worked at it. His work ethic was unbelievable, phenomenal. You didn't have to tell him to do extra, but he really worked hard, and he made himself a better ball player and a better hitter in the junior college level, and got a scholarship to Troy.
Mackey, what did you tell the Mets? How did you? Sell's not the right word. How did you get him interested in signing him as a non?
Well, what happened? They had watched TJ. Tommy was a Met scout at the time, and they'd seen him time and time again, and they just never pulled the trigger. And when he got to Troy, he had some outstanding years there and really matured as a ball player. And he had all the tools just to maturity, set it off. And after the season, they actually called me. They needed a second baseman, third baseman type guy, and asked me, was he the guy? I said, well, you should have took him in the first place. I said, because he's a guy that's going to make your whole team better because of the way he works at it and all the things he does. And, a couple of days later, he signed with the Mets, and the rest was history for him. But, he should have had an opportunity earlier.
TJ, before you're now with the Cleveland Guardians organization. You were manager in their Arizona Complex League, and a Rover now. How disconsolate were you when you were drafted? And it was 11, I think.
11, yeah. Yeah, it was unfortunate. I had a lot of opportunities, especially back then when 50 rounds and 4 opportunities to get picked up, 4 years. And definitely that last time that I didn't get picked up, there wasn't much talk prior to the draft to where I was like, I'm going to get drafted. But I had some connections here and there. I filled out some paperwork and talked to some teams, but it was nothing concrete. So I wasn't really sure what was going to come of it. But, it went and 50 rounds in, and then nothing happened. And I was, at that point, we're trying to question what I'm going to do next. And I always felt like baseball, it was going to be baseball. I just wasn't sure how it was going to work. And unfortunately, a couple days later.
It's pretty good. You had a good relationship with Mackey when you played for him, right? Else you would have recommended him. I'm just kidding. But it had to make you good that Mackey went to bat for you, and it had to make you pretty good when you heard what happened.
Yeah, and that was huge for me. I don't know if I have opportunities if somebody doesn't fight for me and kind of speak up for me a little bit. And I was fortunate to have Mackey do that for me because I don't think I was ever a player that was going to really wow you in a showcase or a practice setting. It was more of the behind the scenes type things that were going to help me, and having Mackey speak up for me, and
TJ, you had it in your
it-
blood to play. You leave in high school in the Bronx. You were a Yankee fan, I heard. And that's not good, but
yeah,
but so you went to FDU for a little bit, then you went down south,
sure.
but you wanted to play more games in a warmer climate.
Yeah. And so it was kind of a thing that was happening. There was a lot of guys that I had played with in the summer that were, trending and just kind of going down south, whether it be Alabama, some guys were going to New Mexico, Florida, Georgia, just the southern states, and where there was really good quality baseball in the junior college level. So I ended up going with about 4 other guys or so that came with me from my summer ball team from New York. We went down there with Mackey, and we were taking a big jump. We weren't sure what to expect. We didn't know what we were doing, but we just loved the game, and we wanted to continue to pursue it.
Mackie, before we go in with TJ, I got to give you some too. I know your career batting average was 270 and 300 one year, but when he came to us in '88, you mostly backed up the kid until he left, right? I mean, how was it working with Gary? The year or two you with him.
Gary taught me a lot. I mean, we all went to dinner together a lot, Jay, with the trainers and everything else. But just by example, he taught me a lot of baseball just by watching. He always hustled. His old knees were give out almost up by
I remember
then.
sitting in the locker room with millions of ice bags on his knees after a game.
Oh yeah, always ice. But he always went out and gave everything he had. And that's why I think I kind of taught TJ and all them guys. You got to go give it all you got and just leave it all on the field. Well, Gary did that every day. Some people didn't like the way he was or this and that. But, every person on this planet's different people. You just have to learn to get along with people. Once you learn to get along with people and do everything and work with people, they're fine. But Gary was a great player. He'd come up with a lot of clutch hits for the Mets. When I got there, he was kind of, on the downside on his way out of,
right.
Baseball. He had played a lot of games.
Teachers, you come to the Mets, you work up the ladder, St. Lucie, Binghamton. You get to Las Vegas, actually win the PSL batting championship. And you were taken off the roster at one point, in 15, I think. Weren't you taken off the roster?
So no, in 15, I hadn't been put on yet. I think they were making some decisions on maybe somebody to come be put on and help out when they were getting towards the playoff run. But I got put on in August of 16.
Right.
In August 10th when I got my first call.
And then you had a great run. I mean, Neil Walker got hurt. Flores got hurt. You ran up hitting 333 last 33 games. And we're playing the Giants in the wild card game, and you're in the starting lineup. Mackey, how proud are you with TJ at that point? In 16, starting for the Mets in the playoff game, Syndergaard against Bumgarner. How did it make you feel?
I think that was. I mean, I remember my feeling when I first got my first time to play, and I know he was excited because it's a kind of relief because all the hard work you put into it, and all the dreams you've had, you actually accomplished that dream. And I was so proud of him because he was my first player to get to the big leagues. And it was an exciting moment. And, for him to go through everything he went through to be able to get to that moment, to me, it makes it even more special. And I'm sure it was special for him too.
TJ,
and,
sorry,
I went through everything just like that.
TJ, scoreless game in the 15, you lead off with a double. Could be the hero. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. We didn't score. And they got 3 runs in the 9th inning, and what a great pitching duo with Bumgarner and Noah that day. Full
I bet it was.
What do you remember about that game, TJ?
It was, I would imagine I didn't get to play in like a game 7 of a playoff match, but it felt like when there's one game on the line, it had to be a similar feeling. I just remember the first, I can't remember who was leading off. It was Bourne or somebody, a left-handed hitter, center fielder for San Fran, and Syndergaard struck him out. It was one of the first or second at bats, and the place erupted. And I was like, okay, we played in some packed games during the 16th season, but this one's going to be a little different. I remember thinking, this place went crazy, standing room only, and it was just the first out of the game. And I'm like, okay, let's rock. I got to get locked in here because this is going to be a fun one. But yeah, it was unfortunate. We weren't able to advance, and Bumgarner pitched really, really well. So did Syndergaard. They got us in.
And you got big hits in September. I remember a home run you hit against Washington in the ninth inning that got us a win. That had to be another big. It was in Washington, right? That had to be another big thrill for you.
Yeah, that was my first major league homer. Was in the 10th, and it was to take the lead at Washington. It was pretty special. Yeah.
Mac, were you able to follow TJ during the year, those 2 years? I mean, I know being down.
Yeah, I followed him the whole time. Remember, Jay, you got me some tickets to the locker room in Atlanta.
Right.
We went up and visit for a little while.
And,
but yeah, I followed his whole career.
Hey, Mac, I just
thought his career ended too short. But
yeah. Let's talk about that for a second, TJ. So in 17, you still hit like 290 for the year or 280. I think your career batting average with the Mets is 304. That's pretty good. But then you got 20 UCL, Tommy John surgery, and you hurt it again in rehab, right? So wasn't able to get better after that.
Yeah, it was a kind of a stinky ending towards the end, but I in 17, my arm kind of gave out on me slowly, and I didn't know if it was, I started playing a little outfield. I don't know really where it ever came from. I ended up tearing my UCL, having surgery the end of that year in 17, and I just never felt the same after that. I re-injured it when I had it, but it is what it is. And then in 19 came back, and it kept flaring up on me, and it was unfortunate that the rehab didn't go the way I planned, and I tried to fight my way back, and then COVID hit. It was probably pretty tough timing to get back into the game when I signed with the Phillies then in 20.
You went to the Long Island Ducks.
I feel like that hurt him. That extended rehab.
Yeah.
If it hadn't happened so early in his career, the way he'd hit and doing the things, I think his career would have been longer. But it happened, extended rehab, injury help happening, and they move on. You know how it is, Jay. But I felt like if he had a few more years under his belt, they would.
But you heard it the second time, right? It just never got better. Which was?
Yeah. During the rehab, it wasn't that. So the rehab took a little longer, and then re-injured it. But I would say it flared up. I wouldn't say I retore it. It just flared up. And at that point, I understood what they had to make a decision. They weren't going to keep me on the roster that I understand somewhat of the business of it. So that's when they released me in 19 of spring. And I think Mac is right. If I had a couple more years under my belt, maybe they hold on a little bit and I would have made a name for myself a tad more. But released me in 19 and I was trying to find my way back. And
well, even though you MLB was career short, 304 career batting average over 100 games, not bad.
No, yeah.
It's not one for one.
Not many people can say
that. I'll take that, but I would have taken 5 years at 250 or something. But
Mac, I know you retired as the AD at Wallace. Do you still scout at all? You go to games? You recommend people still? I mean, you still.
Jay, after I got out of coaching, it's been 2 years ago. I probably watched more Major League Baseball than I have when I was coaching. I was around the field every day. I didn't do a lot of things, but I've watched more college baseball, like this World Series. I'll watch. I miss some of it. I don't miss the grind every day with kids the way they are today. But I'm pretty sure I got to fly out next month to Montana. Todd Pratt's already been. We may coach next year out in the independent ball next year in Montana together.
He I know he's involved with college coaching. He's out there now.
Well, he's the president of an independent league in Georgia. And that's what he's doing right now. But he asked me down at the fantasy camp would I go with him, and I told him, sure, I'd think about it.
Do you remember the games he used to play in the locker room these video games? He had these crazy games he used to play all the time.
I might be the only guy that can coach with that guy.
You know what I'm talking about? He played these crazy games.
I heard it was crazy stuff.
Yeah. Hey, I want to talk about two of Mackey's old teammates. Number of retires, Dwight Gooden, Darryl Strawberry. What was it like catching Doc, Mackey?
Easiest job you ever had. I mean, he put it where he wanted to put it. He pitched phenomenal. When he wasn't on his game, he found a way to win. Doc was one of the, probably the easiest guy to catch because he hit a spot so much. He was a great guy, and he deserved it. And Darryl deserved every bit what he got the other day. They both were great players for New York. I mean, you got Keefe and you got Hojo also. All those guys were phenomenal players back in their day, and it was fun to watch. It was great to play with them. I learned a lot.
That was a pretty good. We were disappointed year in '88. We win 100 games, beat the Dodgers 10 of 11, and unfortunately we lose in 7 games.
Well, we ran into Earl Hershiser.
Yeah.
He got hot at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And it's just part of the game. I mean, that was a really good series, though.
Yeah,
that was a 7-game battle series.
It was crazy.
We just happened to come up on the bad end of it, but it was a great experience.
I can still see Socha's home run in the 9th inning. And, yeah, it was awful day. TJ, tell the people how you went up with Cleveland. You're just 36 still, right? Are you 36, 37?
35. I'll be 36.
I didn't mean to age you. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
But so you tell. It's a great story how you got into with the Guardians.
Yeah, so kind of random. I'm here in Prattville, Alabama, living here. My wife her family's out here, so we've been down here for a couple of years now, and just going to the gym. I was actually looking to play. I had just finished with the Phillies in AAA. I had a solid year, like for the second half, I would say, and I felt like I kind of caught my groove a little bit. But I'm old and trying to get back into the game. Old for baseball's sake, I guess you could say. I was 33, trying to still play, and 32, and anyway, I'm going to the gym, back and forth, and I'm truly staying in shape, hitting like a couple days a week with my father-in-law who loves baseball. And I see he lives in my town as well as our catching coordinator, Luke Carlin with Cleveland. And we always talk a little bit here and there. And I threw out some stuff that, hey, I'm training and see if that got a little bite or anything, but we don't sign anybody here for that's an older position player. So he didn't take that bait. And, I also threw out, and this was just random. I wasn't even trying to, see if they had anything available. I just said, but I would love to stay in the game at some point, but I'm going to play as long as I can, blah, blah, blah. And he said, we actually just interviewed somebody just like you. We're looking for somebody that, ex-player. And I said, all right, let me just kind of feel it out. I feel like I still got some playing in me. And 2 weeks goes by. Spring, I think, had started or something at that age, or maybe even the season was getting close to starting. And I couldn't hold off. My agent was getting some talks, nothing serious, nothing concrete. So I just said, let me start this interview process and see where it takes me. I didn't tell any other teams. I didn't go to any of my contacts. I have a couple contacts with New York. Didn't reach out to anybody because I didn't want anybody to think I wasn't going to keep playing. But I was like, let me go with let me just see where this interview process takes me. And the next thing you know, I went through another interview. They flew me out to Arizona and did some in-person stuff. And
now you're roving, right? Basically.
And now I'm roving. I'm in it. Yeah, I'm fully in it.
3 little girls. 3
little girls. Yeah, 6, 4, and 10.
You eventually got to keep pursuing the end of it. I mean, the managing, coaching, and even see where. Guardians is a great organization. They don't have a big payroll, but they're always top of the league. In the hunt all the time. It seems like a great organization to be part of.
They're steady.
Yeah, very, very strong, very steady. They really care about the people, which is awesome. I've been real fortunate. I actually fell into a really good organization, and player development is very strong and heavy here. And you got to do it. You got to do it from the ground up when the payroll is not huge. So they do a great job up top, and I'm blessed to have this opportunity. And I may see myself back in the managing role, hopefully one day. I think it's where my passion lies, but it's just right now this opportunity gives me a little chance to be home, be with the girls, help out a little
Mackey,
bit.
You had a solid career, great career. Close to 270, hit 300 one year. Is what you did with TJ, is that even more to you than the hits or home runs you got? That you helped someone, get where he is today in a precipice of who knows what he might be next? Could be a major league manager someday. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel good. When I was at the crossroads, like the same as he was, with my career, my throwing problem, everything, I wanted to get back into pro ball and coach or do something. And, I came to Wallace and they offered me a job. And I said, well, I'll do this just for a little while and move on. Well, I wound up staying 25 years because I loved the game and I was teaching to young kids what I had learned through I had some really great managers through my career. And I just taught them the way they taught me. Jim Leland was probably the best one, how to handle people, how to handle kids, how to handle everybody. And Davy Johnson, Roger Craig, Lou Piniella. And I just kind of mixed all that in there to teach these kids. And, and when I retired, I told everybody it wasn't the winning the games that made me happiest, it was the kids that came back to me and said, thank you. Thank you for what you did for me. Not only just for baseball, but to teach me to be a family man, to teach me all the things in life that I needed to know when I left here. And that was what really made me tick. And I still to this day have people to text me about it. But they became good fathers, good people in their communities.
That's what it's about.
That's what I wanted to do.
Hey, before I forget, just to catch a Dwight, you wish to quote David Cone, Viola too, right? I mean,
Viola, Cone, Sid, Ojeda, all of them.
Yeah.
Sagerhagen.
So there's a pretty good Cy Young winners there, you know.
Oh yeah, we had some good ones.
You know what I remember about you? You always did charity work. You were one of the go-to guys for the community outreach department. You did a lot of charity work. What made you do that as a young kid? You know, I mean, you weren't a quote superstar. You were here, but you always want to get back to the community.
I don't know. I mean, it was instilled in me when I was younger because I still do it to this day. I try to help as much as possible. You know, I miss Jimmy Plummer. He made me money, though.
He's a good man.
He was a good guy. He always called on me, and I always answered. And, you know, Mookie Wilson was that way, and Keith Miller. They always gave back.
You did work, too, in the community, didn't you, when you were here?
When I was in New York, yeah, I was fortunate to have a couple of things that I got to do and help out, and we gave back to our high school.
You did a field at Lehman, if I remember?
A mound, yeah. So we put a mound together for the team, and it was through New York, the Mets, and we went and visited. I spoke in front of the gymnasium. The class came back, and it was awesome, man. It was Sandy came out there and showed his support, and
well, you know, teach your example to young kids never to give up. Undrafted player, fought your way up, never gave up, and like you say. And like to do, who knows what lies ahead for you. And Mackey, your friendship is great, and I appreciate you guys coming on. It's a great feel-good story. It's you know, people never to give up and keep battling, and we never can tell what can happen. So
that's right.
My earplug just fell out. Hey, I just want to thank you guys for the time, and hope to see if you're ever in New York, TJ, Mackey, so you're going to be with Todd. That'll be interesting. It'll be a great coaching staff.
Oh yeah, it will be.
He'll keep you laughing.
I don't want to get controlling.
I got to tell you one quick Todd Pratt story. In '99, Todd's on first base. We're playing the Braves in the LCS. Ventura hits a grand slam, and Todd catches him at second base and runs past him. And cost him a single. It became the Grand Slam single, whatever they'll call it. So he blamed Robin. He says all of Robin's home runs are usually big fly balls, just as a line drive. Nobody knew it was a home run, but he was a character. But he had a big home run against Arizona in the playoffs. It was good, Well, TJ, all the best. All the best with your career, man. Wishing us the best, and thanks for your time.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Thank you all.
And Mackey, thanks again for your time, and hope to see you soon. If you're ever in New York, give us a call.